media might have a field day with this one, but I'm going to just repeat something President Trump said a long time ago, and it got him in a lot of trouble. They are bringing drugs. They are bringing crime, and they are rapists, and that's who's coming across our border. That's a fact.
Kari Lake, running for governor in Arizona. We all came here by crossing that border. So all Latinos, practically all Latinos in the United States, with the exception of the ones that came through the Caribbean, crossed through that border. So when you say the people who cross that border are, which she just said, rapists and criminals, she's saying all Latinos in the United States are rapists and criminals. How does she not understand that?
Agua.
I can't believe that somebody would actually say what you're about to hear. It's just one of those things where you just shake your head and go, why? Why? Where's that from? Was that when Tanya Harding hit that other lady in the Olympics, remember? And all we ever heard her say was, why? Why? Do you remember that? I'll never forget that.
Yeah, Nancy Kerrigan.
Nancy Kerrigan, thank you. It was the most pronounced why. That stick to the day I die, I'll be hearing that. Why? And it was a good question. Like, why would you do that? Why would you come out here and hit me with a club? You know, right? Right, Scotty?
That why lives it lives rent-free in your head constantly. Why? You just hear, why?
Why?
Okay, so why am I saying why? Why, right? Let me just play it. Listen to what the woman who's running for governor of Arizona actually said this weekend at ready? Are you ready? At a church. A church. She said this. Go.
The media might have a field day with this one, but I'm going to just repeat something President Trump said a long time ago, and it got him in a lot of trouble. They are bringing drugs. They are bringing crime, and they are rapists, and that's who's coming across our border. That's a fact.
Do you know what that means? This we do this podcast because I'm Latino, because nobody seems to want to stand up and defend us. And when I hear that woman say that, I wish I could help her understand. And we're going to put a phone call out to her. I'm going to try and get her and interview her on this podcast. I think it's important for us to talk to her. What is her name again? Kari Lake, running for governor in Arizona. We all came here by crossing that border. So all Latinos, practically all Latinos in the United States, with the exception of the ones that came through the Caribbean, crossed through that border. So when you say the people who cross that border are, which she just said, rapists and criminals, she's saying all Latinos in the United States are rapists and criminals. How does she not understand that? I mean, I can understand if she said there is a drug problem at the border. That's true. There is a drug problem at the border. By the way, there's also a drug problem in Detroit, okay? But you don't say those people in Michigan are all rapists and criminals because there's a high crime problem in Detroit or in Lansing, right? You don't say that. So why do they do that here? Why would they do that? It just breaks my heart. I mean, I feel bad for the Republican Party keeps saying, we're going to reach out to Latinos, man. We're going to get Latinos to vote Republican. Well, you're not if you do this shit. You're not if you talk like this. And Scotty Mednick, she said this at a church. Is this what Jesus stood for? I mean...
according to today's Republican Party, yeah, this is what Jesus stood for. It's simple as that, you know? You only love if you look like me and you were born where I was born, and only treat those with, I mean, that's... But it's the entire party is against Jesus.
It's not all Republicans, though. It's not all... We can't do that, because if we do that, Scotty,
you
know what?
But
hold on. Let me just say this. This is really important. You know I love you like a brother, right? I really do. But if we play into this, where all Republicans are evil game, all Republicans think like this, then we're a part of the problem too. We're dividing our country and we're creating these silos. And I want to help my Republican friends understand the danger of this kind of language so that they can correct their candidate. That's what I want to do, right? Don't you get that?
Yeah, I mean, I do get that, and I do agree with that. But at what point do we hold accountable for what you stand for, what you're representing? I mean, at the end of the day, whether or not you wear the MAGA hat, that's still your party. And I'm not saying that you can't vote conservatively or you can't be, that type of person. But as a whole, generally speaking, that's what the party stands for today. And that's who's being elected in these parties today. If you look across the country right now, they're all extremists. The new face of the party. It's not the party of Lincoln. It's not the party of Ike. Hell, it's not the party of Reagan or Bush anymore. This is the party of Trump.
There is one thing she says that I think is fascinating, and I let me see. Actually, there were two things she said that were not true. And let me see if you guys can catch them. I want to play this again. Hit that little button one more time there, George. I want to hear her again.
The media might have a field day with this one, but I'm going to just repeat something President Trump said a long time ago, and it got him in a lot of trouble. They are bringing drugs. They are bringing crime, and they are rapists, and that's who's coming across our border. That's a fact.
We found this bite, which is, the sound that you just heard. And guess what? The media is not having a field day with it. The media could give a crap. Generally speaking, if she had said this about another group, and you could fill in your group, right? But she's saying it about Latinos in the United States. And NBC could give a crap, and CNN could give a crap, and Fox News could give a crap. And the media in the United States will not retort and say, what are you talking about? That's not even true. So for starters, when she said the media will have a field day, no, they're not. If you don't watch or listen to the Rick Sanchez podcast, you won't even know that she said that. And thanks to Scotty Mednick, who is diligently scouring the Googles and finding this kind of, because you found this, right? And it's not like, did you see NBC?
Over the weekend.
Did you see anybody lead with this story?
No, nobody. In fact, I Google searched it to see what the search, and there was very little mention of her even, because I was trying to find the full video of her at this church to see, and I couldn't even find the full thing of it. It was somebody that was there that recorded it, and it was uploaded online. I mean, and they're not, because let's face it, it's the Queen just died. Here in America, it's important that we focus on the Queen's death and what that means to the United Kingdom.
You can now remove what you have on your lips, Scotty, as you say that, right? That your tongue is so firmly planted in your cheek. I see that bulge out there.
Sorry about that.
Yeah, because
I also want to take a step further. Something that you mentioned before about people in Detroit with the drugs. How about we don't ever hear anybody complaining about the drugs coming from Canada? I wonder why. Isn't there a border? Doesn't our country border there? Isn't it a bigger border, matter of fact?
But let's talk about that, by the way. I looked it up. Of course, I'm a journalist. So the first thing I did was I wanted to fact check it. So I went and fact checked whether it's true that the people coming across the border, first of all, are rapists and criminals, and what percentage are. Are you ready? You want to hear this? Because this is interesting.
Yes.
According to the National Crime Victimization Survey, that breaks down such stats by victims. By the way, you guys can find this yourself if you just do the same Google search that I did. It's right there on the Googles, as my old friend George Bush used to say. I think it was Scotty's buddy. White Anglo-Europeans make up 63% of the population of the United States, right? So let me say that again, because I know numbers don't work unless you're looking at them. White Anglo-Europeans in America make up 63% of the population. They account for 71% of all sexual assaults. So white Anglo-Europeans, non-Hispanics, make up 63% of the population in the United States. They account for 71% of all sexual assaults. Now, to be clear, sexual assaults could be anything, right? I mean,
right.
Yeah, I mean, there's a whole
right. It's not necessarily rape. It could. Be
right. Yeah, it's the way it's listed. So. Latinos, who make up roughly 20% of the population of the United States, Jerry, 20% of the population of the United States, according to national crime victimization statistics, account for 9% of all sexual assaults in the United States. So, Miss Carrie Lake, who are the rapists? Who are the rapists? I mean, and by the way, I'm not going to play this game. I'm not saying, white people are bad or white people are. I'm not going to play the same game that she's playing and say, next time you see a white dude who doesn't look Latino or whatever, I don't know, he's from Alabama or, whatever other horrible stereotype that we all play into, left and right. I'm not saying to say, oh, that guy obviously raped his sister, because that's wrong. You just don't do that. You don't generalize. You don't make hasty generalizations about swaths of people, unless, of course, you're trying to get elected and you're looking for a specific type of audience which you think might get you over the threshold because it's just the right amount. Is it 35%, 40%? If I can get between 35 and 40% of the voters in the United States, then guess what? I might be able to become the governor of Arizona. And there's a lot of people right now in Arizona who are angry white dudes or angry white women or whatever, and they seem to have this idea that all Latinos are scummy. So if I go out there and I say all the people crossing the border are criminals and rapists, then there's a chance I can, make it to the governor's mansion. And that's the calculation that she's making. And that's just a horrible thing. She's playing to the worst fears and the worst thoughts of some of the worst people. And for those who may not even think like that, she's forcing them there. See, that's the thing that bothers me about demagogues. Yeah. There are a lot of Americans who don't think all Mexicans are rapists. In fact, they're good people. They just happen to be Republicans, and there's nothing wrong with being a conservative or a Republican. But they give them just enough information to push them. So now a guy who used to be in the middle is now, a little bit more on the extreme side, right?
This is pretty much identity politics, on steroids. Identity politics is on both sides. It's been in politics, for as long as I've ever researched or anything, telling people to be scared of something or we're going to change this on you. But the identity politics today, and, we could talk about for whatever reason, whether it be Trump or social media or internet, whatever, but it's turning into a cultural war now. And it's getting to the point where it's like, we're starting to hate the other. It's not so much that, they're leading with fear, and it's working. It's making the people, hey, you're not going to be the majority anymore. You're going to be the minority soon. And once you're the minority, they're going to be getting revenge on you. So you got to make sure. And when you're saying Mexicans, I'm sorry, it's a dog whistle for Latinos. I'm telling you, this is an Anglo-white kid, that grew up in, the Northeast and the Southeast.
Yeah. When they say,
because outside of, because outside of the heavy Latino populations of this country, if you speak Spanish, you're Mexican, or that's the assumption. Just like if you see an Asian person, you automatically assume they're Chinese. Well, that's we generalize that.
Since we do mostly truth-telling here, and we try and tell Latino truths, there's something else that she said which was misleading, which I also want to address. In fact, play the very beginning of Miss Lake talking there, George. In fact, I'll tell you when to stop.
The media might have a field day with this one, but I'm going to just repeat something President Trump said a long time ago, and it got him in a lot of trouble.
Stop.
They are bringing drugs.
Okay. Got him in a lot of trouble? No. Wrong. Fact check. Got him elected. Got him elected. The reason Donald Trump became the president of the United States is because the very first words out of his mouth as he came down that escalator was those words that she just quoted him as saying. And because he came out and said, essentially, Mexicans are rapists and criminals. Although, it's funny, Trump said at the end, except for some, I suppose, are good people. I suppose
he added that
she didn't
caveat.
even do that, Scott.
No. She took it up. She took it up a level. She knows what you got to do. You got to one up it, and she's doing what she's playing the hits.
Yeah.
It worked for Trump. She's playing the hits, and what she's doing is kind of the strategy of what I see in the Republican Party today. Is you claim to be the strong man, and you claim everybody else is the victim, but you yourself are playing the victim. Oh, well, it got Trump in a lot of trouble. The poor, come on.
Yeah.
That's victimization right there.
I hate that whole,
listen. By claiming.
Agreed, Scotty. And look, this is not, as a Latino, again, going back to Latino truths, we could give a crap what you say about us. We really can. You want to call me a rapist? Okay, I'm a rapist, okay? You want to call me a criminal? I'm a criminal. You want whatever the hell you want to call me, I don't care, because we are the most successful people in the United States right now, right? We are the third fastest. We are the economic engine of the United States of America. We create more small businesses. We hire more people. That's what we do. So if you want to call me a rapist, I don't care, because I'm not going to stop doing what I'm doing, and I'm not going to stop loving the United States of America. We love this country. We're a part of this country. We are America. We happen to be Latino Americans, but we are America. So I'm not going to play the victimization game, but I will point out when someone says something that's wrong. And what she just did by saying what she said is freaking wrong.
It's ridiculously wrong, and it's dangerous. It's dangerous at the end of the day, because here's the thing, like you just said, you're not going to let it affect you, and most Latinos probably wouldn't let that affect them either. But the perception to the rest of America, that will change that perception. Like you said, those people that are moderates, if you hear a lie enough times, it becomes a truth.
Yeah, I think
and that's what it seems like happening.
You can only go to the well so many times. I think Americans are smart enough to figure this out. And we're 20% of the populations, which means more and more Americans now have us as their neighbors, or as their doctor, or as their nurse, or as their kid's teacher. And they know that's not who we are. I think eventually, I mean, this playbook that everyone seems to be reading off of. I'll give you another example. Here's Steve Bannon last week. Steve Bannon is essentially indicted in New York. He's arrested for scamming Trump voters. He tells all the Trump voters, I'm going to build you a wall, send me money. And he also tells them the money will only be used to build a wall. No one's going to keep a penny of this stuff, not even for administrative fees. Well, guess what? Not true. So the feds are saying, we've got you dead to rights. We've got emails that you sent. We've got texts that you sent to your other schemers, I guess, in this plan. And you guys kept so much money, and they can actuate that money. So now they charge him, and he has to actually do the perp walk, which was funny to watch. But as he's coming in, guess what he says. Just like Miss Lake, he goes right to the border and right to Mexicans and says the only reason he's being arrested is because people are denying him the right to defend Americans against those frickin' Mexicans coming over the border. Here, take a listen.
This is an irony. On the very day the mayor of this city has a delegation down on the border, they're persecuting people here to try to stop on the border.
What does one thing even have to do with the other? On the very day that the mayor of the New York State or the PTA of Buffalo is on a field trip on the border in Texas, they're persecuting a good American like me against these Chicano sons of you-know-what. I mean, what the hell is he even talking about? But you see what he's doing, though, right? He goes there. He goes there. It's the playbook. Go to the playbook. This play never fails, you know?
Yeah.
It's like the Green Bay Packers with the sweep.
And anti.
Yeah.
It's interesting, too, because when I see people like Steve Bannon and Trump and other party leaders and people that are, pretty much run the party, I feel like they know what they're doing. 100%. They know what they're doing. They know they're stoking the flame. They know they're riling people up because, scared people, angry people, they're voters and they're going to vote in masses. But I get worried about the people like Carrie Lake and the people like the what's her name, Marjorie Taylor Greene or the Lauren Boebers or people like that. Those people, I think, actually believe this shit, man. That's the scary part. I feel like the people at top, we know the politicians of years. They know they know what they're doing and how to get people, going.
That's
but
interesting.
I'm afraid that people.
Go ahead. I'm sorry. I interrupted you. But, you and I, we finish each other's ideas. But go ahead. Finish.
Yeah. No, but I truly feel that these people, and it's going to get dangerous because of it, because these people aren't using it as a ploy just to get elected. These people actually believe that they have the right of Jesus, that they have the word of God here. And what they're doing is what God wants. And it's not just a thing to get voters out.
What is her name again? Give me her name. I'm sorry. Lake? Lake?
Which one?
Carrie
Lake.
I'm going to read you who Carrie Lake is. This is really fascinating, okay? Because her, when you go to find out what she represents, because you just said some of these people really believe some of this stuff. Like there are people who actually believe that Mexicans are inferior and they're rapists and they're criminals and all Latinos who come to the United States are scum and we got to get rid of them all. I guarantee you they're a minority, but they believe that. Carrie Ann Lake, on the other hand, is a news anchor who is running for governor in Arizona. But let me read to you a little bit about her background, all right? So her background is that she was, in 2006, she registered as a Democrat. So she's a Democrat in 2008, the day the Iowa Democratic presidential caucuses were won by Obama. She was originally a Republican, but then switched to Democrat because she thought she could get more hay there. Then switched back to being a Republican, explained that she was leaving the Republican Party in 2006 as a reaction to the war in Iraq and Afghanistan. Then she supported John Kerry in 2004, supported Barack Obama in 2008, and then decided to support Donald Trump and run as a Republican. So this is a kind of an interesting cat. I actually applaud her for looking at policies situationally, which is what I do. I don't vote Democrat. I don't vote Republican. I vote for what I think is better for my country. I don't go in there saying, whoever the Republican is, I'm going to vote against him. And I don't think we should do that. However, what that tells me, that curriculum vitae that I kind of just read about her, that I found out, tells me that she's probably different than the people you just described. She probably knows something close to the truth, but she says not the truth. She says what she thinks she needs to say to get elected.
Maybe I've looked into some of her body of work, including her Twitter account and interviews that she's done and the far right channels that she's been on. And maybe you're right. To me, it just comes off as somebody that's wishy-washy and doesn't know what they want and is easily influenced, and finally was influenced, enough by something like this that empowered her. She was on, it's like you. I mean, imagine if you, before you went to CNN, after spending 20 years in Miami, where everybody in the city of Miami pretty much loves you, if you decided to run for office, you literally spent every single night inside people's living rooms. Mm-hmm. You're going to get elected, man.
Right.
She's going to get elected by these people. But like I said, I don't know if, maybe you're right. Maybe she doesn't actually believe these things and she's using it as a ploy. But I don't know, man. She comes off as some of those people that I do in my head, at least, group as actual believers of this bullshit.
I just feel bad for those people in the Republican Party who are fiscally responsible, believe in the market, and believe in diversity. And they're right now being drowned out by people who are saying something like this. And I would hope that there are enough.
They allowed this to happen, man. But they allowed this to happen over the years, all the years of just the little things. I mean, I hear today, people like Karl Rove or George Will or people like that, and they're going. But they're the people that paved this road that allowed this kind of crap to take over.
I don't think
All
that's
these
fair,
little things
Scotty.
that
I don't think that's fair. I mean, why? Just because they're fiscally conservative, they paved the road? I mean,
No, it has nothing to do with it has nothing to do with the beliefs. It's what they've allowed to happen. And again, I don't want to blanket this. Democrats, I have my own issues with as well, the Democratic Party and things that they've done. But right now we're just talking about this. And a lot of these policies over the years and this rhetoric has led to, what we're seeing today.
Yeah,
The
but
fact
you
that
know,
the fact that the
but hold
Republican Party
on.
is
You know,
so
here's where you're wrong. Here's where I think you're wrong, my dear, good buddy, friend, producer, whatever. You're right. There has been a lot that has been said over the last 10 years that has started the Joe Arpaio movement, for lack of a better term, criticizing Mexicans and
Sure.
Latinos, and they're the
Yes.
problem, they're the problem, they're the problem. And the Republican Party never stamped that out properly.
Mm-hmm.
But let me ask you a question. Did the Democrats? Did the
No.
Democrats? Did the CN? Yeah, you could say, yeah, Fox News has been really mean to Latinos, but where the hell was Anderson Cooper? Where was Rachel Maddow? Where was Don Lemon? Where were all of those
They're
people?
just as complacent. Just as complacent, like I said.
It's
I'm
not hard. I'm
this
going to
isn't-
do it right now. I'm going to do it right now. Are you ready? I'm going to do it for you right now. You want a little fact check? So what essentially is Steve Bannon saying to Americans to try and get their support? By saying that he's being persecuted simply by trying to stop all these Mexicans and illegals from coming over to the United States. So I'm going to fact check that. Are you ready? Here we go.
Okay.
Let me do the old Google thing here. He wants to create a fund for making sure people don't come over the border, right? On the wall. Where do most undocumented Americans actually come from? Have you asked yourself that question? Should we ask ourselves that question? If you wanted to stop illegal entries in the United States, I'm going to tell you right now, what Steve Bannon needs to do is he needs to create a fund to improve the screening at airports. Because, here we go, 62% of the undocumented in the United States are people who flew here on a plane from some country and overstayed their visa and decided not to go back to their country. While 38% of those who come to this country illegally cross the border. And of those, it doesn't even include the ones who've been captured and sent back. So in actuality, most people who are undocumented in the United States did not cross the Mexican border. They came here on a jumbo frickin' jet, my friends. Now, that's intellectual honesty. Why doesn't Bannon say that to the people he's trying to collect money from?
Because they have a belief that for lack of a better word, white American, the Anglo-European white American, English-speaking white American, will be going the way of the dodo. And in order to fix that, since we have low reproduction, in this country, we have to allow certain people that look like us to come back in to repopulate that. Hey, by the way, we should also try to make abortion illegal because the people that we're trying to save, the race we're trying to save, has the highest abortion rates. Mm-hmm. So that's why they vilify. And yes, the media is complacent with that because the media should be fact checking it in the way you just did, but they don't. And maybe it is because they are in on it, or maybe they're just lazy and complacent, and that's not what's getting the money.
But did you just say Latinos have more abortions than all other Americans? That's not true. Is it?
White Americans
have more abortions.
White Americans, they get more abortions than any other group. I don't know from a statistic, but obviously from a number, it's a majority still.
Let's Google that. That's a great question.
Yeah.
Who has
because that's
more...
one of the big things with the white race theory about the voter blocks. If they're not white, they're not going to vote for us. We got to make sure the Democrats are trying to bring illegal immigrants here so they can change the voting blocks. And
39% of the people who get abortions in the United States are white. 28% are black. 25% are Hispanic. So once again, Hispanics come in third.
But again,
you're right.
But
yeah,
like
this
I
is
said,
coming
from a number standpoint.
Say again, Scotty.
I said from an actual number standpoint, not a percentage standpoint, if you can stop most, Anglo white people, European white people in America from getting abortions, the population may not theoretically be in trouble anymore if it's even that, but that's what they consider it.
Well, I'll tell you,
it's kind of heavy. It's kind of messed up when you think about it like that.
well, no, I just wanted to make sure, because whenever somebody on the show throws out a number, the first thing I want to do is make sure we fact check it, because that's what we do here. I mean, we talk about Latino truths. Let's fact check stuff. Let's not just stand in front of a church
Absolutely.
and say the Latinos are all coming over the border and they're all rapists and criminals. I mean, what is, by the way, how is she going to be elected in a state? What is the percentage of Latinos in Arizona? I mean, they gotta be a high percentage. Are they not gonna go out and vote against somebody who says that about them? Wouldn't that be it would freak me out if a woman can stand in a place like, I guess you could do that in North Dakota or, but in Arizona, let's find out how many Latinos in Arizona, right?
Mm-hmm.
29%. 29%. So yeah, well, actually, 30%. 30% of the population of Arizona is Latino. So right there, you have 30% who you can basically take off. That means you have 70% left. Now let's just do the math here. Hardcore, as you said, MAGA is probably 35 to 40% of that remaining 70%, or 65%. Of the remaining 60. So that means how many white Democrats and white Anglo-Saxon Democrats, how many Latinos? That's 30. How many would you need? You would need 20% of plus another 15%. Yeah, this becomes a numbers game, right?
And I think, and it's, and here's the thing, looking at least in Arizona, just from what I've looked at, the Democratic candidate, she doesn't seem like that strong of a candidate. Go figure, the Democrats are not going to put up a strong candidate once again. I mean, that's kind of like their MO lately. I just recently saw that she said she's not going to debate her, which I can understand why she wouldn't want to debate her. But if you're projecting strength like Carrie Lake is, you're gonna just use that as look at me. She's afraid to debate me because she knows that I'm right. And that's what's going to end up happening. So I wouldn't be surprised if she ends up winning the governorship there.
We'll just see how the numbers play out. As we just said, 30% of the population is Latino. You would think that 30% would vote against her.
Yes.
Then you have to figure of the remaining 70%, how many of those are Democrats and how many of those are Republicans. If it's split down the middle and then you add the Hispanics, who probably will vote against somebody who says that they're all rapists and criminals, I'd say she's in a tough place. I don't know.
I haven't seen the most recent polls.
Are you looking for them?
Yeah, I'm looking right now. Yeah, she's down by less than a point.
Yep, I got it here. According to 538, this is Nate's poll. Not that he's been right lately, but anyway.
No, he's been quite off.
Anyway, his poll right now has Hobbs at 46%, and Lake at 44.9, which is essentially 45. So it's 46 to 45 right now. It's as tight as a drum.
That's what I'm saying. You would think with what we just explained that it would be. Come on, you just insulted the 30% of the population. What are you doing?
But she just did this,
Obviously.
so why don't we look at the poll next week to see if it had an effect? I mean, I don't know.
Listen,
I'll tell you what, it's either going to go up or down, right? I mean, if all of a sudden she overtakes her, then
that's great. That's great analysis right there. It's either going to go up or down. Hey.
Well, no, but I'm saying, what would that say about Arizona if after she says that, all of a sudden in the poll she starts winning by 3 or 4 points? That means that people agree with her.
It would say basically the same thing that America says to the rest of the world when they see that Donald Trump won.
Yeah, even though he said the same thing.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. The rest of the world looked at us like we're a bunch of insensitive assholes after that.
What about Bill Maher? Bill Maher, once again this weekend, said something really interesting. And look, I don't want to knock the guy because I know he does a show and he has to bring up controversial points of view to then create a discussion and get people. But I don't know, man. The way he poses this question, I kind of get a sense that he agrees with it. Like this is his position. Like, he's more in line with the governor of Texas, Abbott, than he is guys like you and me. And certainly the Latino perspective, because look how he phrases the question on his show this week. Here it is.
Well, Texas Governor Greg Abbott sent buses of migrants to Chicago last week. I'll be there tomorrow night, prompting worries that a continued influx will strain Chicago's resources. Will this force sanctuary cities to rethink their policies? It is an interesting question for liberals to be, like, hey, let's have open borders or close to it. And then when they come, but it's not in our states, and the Texas governor kind of called their bluff. It was like, well, you like immigrants so much? Have some of ours.
See, I mean, I get what he's trying to do there, but it certainly sounds to me like what he's saying is it's a fact that Latinos are a burden on America, and when they come here, they become a burden wherever they go. That's the fact that he's establishing the way he phrased that question. Latinos are a burden. And good on Texas for saying, hey, we got to deal with this stupid burden of these people. So why don't we send them in other places so they can deal with the burden of these people? But that's making an assumption that they're a burden, when in actuality, as one of his guests points out, and we have that too, this is Matt Welch. He's a libertarian. Libertarians tend to be real smart on this issue, by the way. Listen to what he tells, he kind of puts Bill Maher in his place. Take a listen.
We have choked off immigration, legal immigration in this country over the last 5 years. Both presidents. Donald Trump started very, very hard, especially at the end of his term. Joe Biden has continued quite a lot of it. We don't have enough legal visas. The hardest working sons of bitches in this country all the time are immigrants, and they also create jobs. If you look at the Bureau of Labor Statistics, what is the cohort hived off that works the most? Hispanics, right? We need more Hispanics in this country. It's those people are not going to. If you go down to the Home Depot, you're not going to see Chad and Tyler out in front of there. That's not it, right? We need people who are going to do that and other things.
It's actually great word script. I got a picture of Chad and Tyler sitting outside of Home Depot. Take me home. I'll cut your grass. Come do all your drywall. But he's so right. If the assumption is they're a burden, no, they're not. No, they're not. They buy more cars. They have more mortgages. They start more small businesses. They hire more people. We do this on this podcast every day, and it seems like we constantly have to remind people like Bill Maher, because Bill Maher is a liberal. There's no question about it. Lately, he tries to disguise himself as a conservative because he thinks that's kind of like the cool, hip place to be these days. But he's a liberal. He's a liberal, yes. Scotty. He is a liberal.
I agree. Liberal. He's one of these guys. No, he's one of these liberals that say, well, I didn't leave the party left me, the party got too far left for me. It's like, come on, man. Like, you're practically a socialist, for God's sakes. I mean, I know you have some libertarian tendencies in there, but really, I agree with what you said, but I think a lot of it is more his condescending tone and kind of, trying to be funny because he's a comedian, and it makes it sound more what you're pointing out than maybe what he actually believes. But, it's interesting because sanctuary cities, I mean, it was essentially created under religion, sanctuary. That's where the idea of sanctuary came from. It was promoted in political world in America by Republicans.
Right.
Reagan, Bush. I mean, that was George W. Bush, man.
Well, I'll give you a little bit of the history about what sanctuary cities or sanctuary movements actually are. The sanctuary movement is a way of helping law enforcement be able to do their jobs. So what it says is, if you're a good and decent person, whether you're Vietnamese or Hispanic or whatever the hell you are, we want to let you know that we are not going to punish you based on anything that you have, for example, your immigration status. If you come to us and you say, I saw something horrible happening next door, my neighbor was beating his 5-year-old child, and I need to report him because I think if this continues, that child's going to turn up dead. And you, as a Latino or as a Vietnamese or as someone from Poland or wherever the hell you're from, you're worried about your immigration status, but you need to be able, so they created this thing called sanctuaries where you feel like you have the right to be able to go to the police and report a crime, and they're going to be able to investigate it. And that way, crimes can be investigated, because if you tell people from, again, Poland, Vietnam, Mexico, wherever the hell they come from, the moment you come to a police officer, the first thing they're going to do is ask for your papers and do a full investigation on you. They're not going to report crimes. And then you're going to have essentially some horrible things happening in those communities. The whole idea for sanctuary cities was to help police, to give tools to police so that they can better police their communities. That's what sanctuary cities are for. So anybody who says they're against sanctuary cities is against the police.
It's as simple as that. And it's within the circles, sanctuary cities has become a buzzword. It's become a trigger word. People hear sanctuary cities and it means that, lawlessness and undocumented immigrants can just come in and not pay their taxes and steal from us, and we have no repercussions because they're being protected through the government. As you just explained, that's furthest from the truth. And again, it's this indoctrination of this of the Republican Party. I'll generalize it again. I know we said we don't want to generalize here, but again,
you're going back to the Republican Party, but we're talking about Bill Maher, Scotty. We're talking about Bill Maher. Bill Maher is the guy who said this. Wait, hold on, let me finish. Bill Maher said that, and the tone he took to say it tells me he believes Latinos are a burden on America. He believes that Latinos are a burden on America, and he does not. Oh, sure, he'll tap the top of our heads and say, "Good Latino, no. Good." I'll have a couple of them on my show, and I'll defend them if people do wrong. But he doesn't understand the strength or the economic vitality of the Latino community. He doesn't know the numbers that I just told. He doesn't know them, Scotty. So
I agree with you, but he's not using liberal talking points there. He's not using Democratic talking points there. He's using the Republican. That's what they say, man. So what he literally just said was, oh, well, the Democrats don't like it. The Democrats aren't saying it. It's the Republicans.
But he's backing it.
He's using a Republican.
Yeah, right, but that's my point. What good are you to me as my defender, supposedly, if you're not going to defend me? What good are you to me, Bill Maher?
He's
what good is he? What good is Rachel Maddow? What good is Don Lemon? What good is Anderson Cooper? What good are any of those frickin' networks that are supposed to have a more broad perspective? Huh?
No, none of them. I agree with you on that. They should be defending these things. But I'm telling you where this message has originated from. It wasn't some liberal sitting around saying, man, these sanctuary cities, man, they're a really bad idea. No, it was identity politics again, stoking people's fears, telling that your culture is going to change. And, these sanctuary cities are protecting them and allowing them to roam free. That wasn't coming from a Democratic think tank. That wasn't coming from a left-leaning, super PAC. That's got right-wing written all over it. That's got conservative thought and extreme thought written all over it. He's regurgitating these things to be a contrarian and to try to get these people that are kind of on the line. I'm not really conservative. I'm not really liberal. That's what he's doing. And it's wrong. And he's an a-hole for it. And he shouldn't be doing it. And it's good that people like Welch are out there that defended Latinos.
Nobody's going to do this. The only people who are going to find that soundbite that we just found of Bill Maher and play it and have this conversation is you and me. Nobody else is going to call him out for this. Nobody.
It's true.
Nobody else going to, just like nobody else is calling out Carrie Lake. Nobody else is calling out Steve Bannon for what he actually said. I watched the coverage. They all were chuckling because he had on handcuffs. They all talked about the fact that he looks like a homeless man. They all showed the lady talking over him, but nobody took his words and said, why is he saying that? Why is it that on the day that he's indicted, he gives a speech in New York City about Mexicans? Because that's what it was. It was a speech about Mexicans. And again, I'm just, as we close out this podcast, I'm left to wonder how it is and what it would say about our country if somebody can say something like this that Carrie Lake said. I don't know if you guys can recue that, but I just want you to hear, once again, what Carrie Lake says, and then ask yourself, how is it possible that they can expect Latinos in the United States? And I say this with all sincerity. There is a move afoot right now in the Republican Party. They're spending millions of dollars to attract Latino voters. They want Latino voters to see the good things about the Republican Party. And there are some really good things about the Republican Party. And there are things that actually Latinos are going to relate to. Family, religion, market, work ethic. These are all things that the Republican Party has always held steadfast on, and they match the Latino perspective. So if they stuck to those things, they could do very well. I mean, they could do very, very well. But instead, it seems to me, I'm not a Republican strategist here, but I would scream at people doing this and say, you're shooting yourself in the foot. You're shooting the party right in the foot with a shotgun, no less. Your foot is gone from your ankle down after somebody stands up and tells Latinos this.
The media might have a field day with this one, but I'm going to just repeat something President Trump said a long time ago, and it got him in a lot of trouble. They are bringing drugs. They are bringing crime, and they are rapists, and that's who's coming across our border. That's a fact.
I would just think that whoever the hell the Republican Party chair is these days, I don't even know who is the Republican Party chair these days, has got to be listening to that and going, no, we just spent $5 billion, or I'm exaggerating, but it's not far from it.
Yeah, of course.
But we just spent $100 million on a Latino voter encouragement drive. And then this woman says that, and that's got to set it back, no? It's got to set it back. If you're
How could it
Latino.
not? Especially in a state like Arizona.
Right. That's 30% of the population.
Especially where you said 30%. Right.
So, and that's where we are. And that's why we have these conversations. It's not for me to decide. It's for the people of Arizona to decide.
It is weird. No, it is weird, though. You're right. You point something out where it's like, they're talking out of both sides almost. Like, one side, it's we want Latino voters. We're spending money for Latino voters. But if they're not going to vote Republican, then they shouldn't be able to vote, maybe.
That's
right?
the point. My point is, when you listen to a soundbite like this, as a Latino, I've been I can't take my
You've been one your whole life, huh?
Right. I can't take my Latino-ness away. When I hear somebody speak as a Latino, I hear certain buzzwords and I go, my God, what did you just say about me? What did you just say about my mom? What did you just say about my dad? I'm not sure I can reckon that, right? I'm not sure I can reconcile my support for you, even if I agree with some things you say, when you kick me in the teeth. And that is being kicked in the teeth, being told something like that. So, I mean, that's where we are. And that's why we do this podcast, because we want to point these things out that you're not going to see anywhere else. We call this Latino truths. It is. These are Latino truths. We're not trying to be mean. We're not trying to say, look, I'm not here to tell you to vote Republican. I'm not here to tell you to vote Democrat. I'm not here to pick an ideology. I'm just here to tell you these things are happening. These people said these things. What do you think? And then what we do is we give you the facts. We give you the information that you need to know so that you can better understand the situation as a Latino, because you're not going to get this on the places like MSNBC, which claim to have your back. No, they don't. No, they don't. Right? There's hardly a difference between them and the ones who criticize you directly, because some would even argue I'd rather have a guy who tells me what he thinks of me to my face than the one who tells me something in front of my face but then turns around and doesn't defend me when he's talking about me. And that's often what we see with the media these days. He's Scotty Mednick. I'm Rick Sanchez. This is Rick Sanchez News. We're a part of, I like this tempo we're getting here. We're a part of Agua Media. It's like I'm directing a band here. I'm a cholo, Yeah. All I need is some campesino music. Look, we do this podcast 2-3 times a week now. Unbelievable how we've been growing lately. We're growing almost at 200%. the number of people who are downloading and listening to our podcast, because it's a conversation that I invite you to join. I invite you to reach out to me. Please leave a comment. Tell me what you think, good, bad, or indifferent. I can learn from you, and I'd also like to praise. Who doesn't? But you know what? If you think we're doing something wrong, or if you've got a correction, not for me, but for Scotty in particular.
Yeah, of course. Of course. You're never wrong, right, boss? I'm always right.
Just ask my wife, right? Or my kids. Yeah, right, sure. No, but seriously, we're on Spotify, we're on Apple, we're wherever you get your podcasts. And if you happen to be watching us, of course, on YouTube, do that little subscribe thing down there. And thanks for being with me, Scotty, as usual. Thanks for disagreeing.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely.
Thanks for disagreeing
Always.
with me.
That's what I do, buddy.
That's what makes it good. Right. So we always like to close by saying dale and ándale and vamos con todo.
Agua.